Good afternoon, and welcome to BBC News. We start with announcements from the Food Standards Agency that recent batches of imported food from South America are to be attempted to be retrieved and recalled after recent bouts of illness have been reported in areas surrounding the distribution points of the imported food. Due to shortages in grain and various vegetables in the UK as a result of widespread striking and last month's summer drought, the government rushed through a trade deal with several South and Central American nations to import crucial food and supplies to last until the shortage is resolved. However, several areas of the country have reported a sharp increase in illness and fatigue, and these areas all correlate with the distribution of these new foodstuffs. Cases in London have begun to drastically rise, with over 700 related illness cases being recorded across the city over the past 24 hours, while Leicester, Derby and Nottingham in the Midlands have also seen hundreds of calls to GPs complaining of general sickness, fatigue, and lack of mental clarity. Cardiff, Manchester, Newcastle, Glasgow, Edinburgh and Belfast have seen similar events unfold, leading the Food Standards Agency to wonder if the newly distributed imported food had been using a tainted ingredient during the production process. The government is attempting to recall all imported food for proper standards testing. However, this is proving to be a difficult task as thousands of items of food, mostly bread, pancakes, and various savoury products, have already made it into the homes of British citizens. The government is urging the public to retain the wrappers the food was contained in, and check the bottom for a red sticker labelled EAS Summer-Autumn Import Produce. If the food packaging has this sticker, you are advised to avoid consuming it, and get in touch with the Food Standards Agency as soon as possible. If you have consumed the possibly tainted food, and either are or are not feeling any kind of symptoms, you are still advised to see your local GP for general health advice. Consuming tainted food can bring about cases of uncomfortable sickness, and so some medication may be available to you in order to cope with any progressing symptoms. In other news, civil unrest cases are being reported along the Mexican-American border. Clashes with what appear to be protesters as well as armed police have continued for several hours, with widespread violence and damage being reported as far north as Houston, Texas. The American President Barack Obama has stated that if the violence does not stop, he will have no choice but to deploy the National Guard to the border regions with Mexico. The cause of this unrest is currently unclear, but the president will be desperate to end this unruly behavior as swiftly as possible. We have breaking news that violence has begun to erupt across several major cities in the United Kingdom as a response to the shooting of several rioters by armed police. Large-spread violence, arson, vandalism, robbery and more have been reported in towns and cities across the length and breadth of the UK, with significant flashpoints appearing in the capital of London, as well as Leicester, Nottingham, Cardiff, Newcastle, Manchester, Glasgow and Belfast. Armed police are currently engaged with mobs of what are being described by the police as savage and severely enraged rioters who have been reported biting and scratching police and members of the public when in close proximity. The Met Police earlier issued a statement on the shootings in London earlier today saying, quote, "Our officers hold themselves to the highest possible standards when it comes to policing. The men and women who possess weaponry have been strictly vetted, and have been thoroughly checked of their physical and mental capabilities in order to ensure they would not fire off a shot unless absolutely necessary. We stand with our officers currently in the line of duty, and have been ensured that those who were shot earlier in Croydon, as well as the shootings in Nottingham city centre and Glasgow, were posing a severe threat to the safety and well-being of the officers who took the action. An in-depth investigation will take place once the rioting and violence stops. We urge those of you on the streets now to return to your homes. You are endangering yourselves, the police, and the general public." The Prime Minister David Cameron has stated that the police have every right to defend themselves when their lives are threatened, and has promised to quell the rioting plaguing our nation. In other news, the NHS has been brought to a standstill after tens of thousands of admissions have flooded the UK's hospitals over the past 24 hours. The Food Standards Agency has stated today that although it's not definite, they have a strong case already put together that the imported South and Central American food was tainted, and that is the root cause of the illnesses plaguing the United Kingdom. Physical sickness is rampant across the population, but increased cases of mental fog, loss of memory, heightened anxiety, and even thoughts of violence have been recorded from those affected, with some even biting hospital staff. It is unknown why the food has caused these outbursts as well as the mental and physical side effects, but with the sheer amount of cases being reported, it has quickly become the NHS's #1 focus, with medical scientists studying the food closely to locate what exactly has been causing the behavior. If a root cause can be identified in the food, the treatments can be narrowed down, and the process of treatment will become a lot more efficient across the nation. Let's hope that a breakthrough comes along soon.
This is the emergency alert system on behalf of Her Majesty's government. Please stand by. This is the emergency alert system on behalf of Her Majesty's government. Our top scientific minds have been coordinating with the World Health Organization over the past few days to investigate the tainted food that was imported into our nation. We found connections and information that the supply chain also sent food into the United States, as well as Indonesia, China, Italy and France. Each of these nations has over the past few days seemingly descended into anarchy overnight, with thousands of civilians flooding the streets in a violent and disturbing manner. Due to this nature, we believe that it is not only the thousands of cases of illness stemming from the imported food, but also the violent behavior plaguing our nations. A further look into the imported food, specifically a certain chain of bread being supplied, found trace amounts of the fungus known as Cordyceps unilateralis, or just Cordyceps for short. Cordyceps has been used for over 1,000 years in things such as medicine, and has been largely harmless to human beings. However, when it comes into contact with ant species, a whole different reaction takes place. The Cordyceps fungus begins to hijack the motor skills of the ant, gradually killing the host. Once a suitable environment is located, the fungus finally kills the host, and releases spores containing the fungus to start the process once again. In a sense, this is a form of invasive reproduction. We believe, however, that a cross-species transmission event has managed to occur worldwide with the Cordyceps, meaning now once consumed by humans, the fungus begins to attempt the same controlling measures that it does on ants. This explains the sudden outbreak of illness, being our body's natural defenses attempting to fight off the fungus, as well as the mental fog and fatigue, as the fungus begins to affect the brain, and then finally, the violent outbursts. We don't see these outbursts in the animal kingdom, however. It is plausible that after transmission to such a complicated life form such as a human, a different method of survival would need to be established to counter the intelligence of other humans, and thus, instead of venturing out to find a suitable area for spores to erupt, the fungus instead acts more like a parasite, triggering primal rage within the human host, causing them to attempt to bite and scratch others to spread the Cordyceps fungus through bodily fluid. There is currently no known cure or immunity to this fungus, as it has never been a threat to humanity until now. However, we can assure you that medical experts around the world are working with the World Health Organization to quickly and efficiently create a vaccine, which would protect healthy humans from infection. We believe recent shootings of civilians by police were advanced carriers of the Cordyceps fungus attempting to attack the police, and thus, our police neutralized them. In light of these recent developments, the British government has decided to formally declare martial law for the entirety of the United Kingdom. Effective immediately, you are to remain in your homes until further notice. If you are currently away from your home, find the closest place of known residence for a family member or friend and request entry. If this is an impossibility, approach police or military personnel with both hands above your head, obey their commands, and the process of relocating you to safety will begin. We believe it important to inform the public on the dangerous nature of those currently being affected by the Cordyceps fungus. These people will have skin coated in sweat, occasionally with blood around the face. They will have bulging veins across the face, neck and arms, and will appear tense. They will move in jolt-like actions, not flowing naturally. Although unconfirmed, we believe the Cordyceps may begin to neutralize the ability to see, meaning the hearing of those affected is believed to be heightened. If you see anyone matching this description in your area, do not approach them. Quietly and quickly put as much distance between you and them as possible. If they see you, they will begin a click-like screeching sound, before hurriedly shuffling after you. They are extremely dangerous and primal. They bite, kick, scratch, gouge, spit. They do anything and everything to harm someone in their sights, with the overall goal of spreading the fungus. Do not allow yourself to be bitten. If you are bitten, you will have been infected. If this happens, isolate yourself immediately and phone the emergency services. A note will be made on the system that your home contains the fungus, and treatment will be delivered to you once a cure is made. We urge the public to cooperate with the military during this crisis. Several nations find themselves in the same boat as us. By working together, we will obtain a solution to this crisis. Any further updates will be broadcast as soon as information becomes available. Thank you and stay safe. This is the emergency alert system on behalf of Her Majesty's government. Please stand by. This is the emergency alert system on behalf of Her Majesty's government. We have crucial information to share to the public on the developing Cordyceps crisis crippling the world. Despite the best minds available to the World Health Organization, the complex nature of the Cordyceps fungal infection means that the latest trials in an attempt to create a viable cure or immunity to the fungus has failed. Despite billions in funding being provided, we are no closer to developing any kind of treatment which would either help those infected already or those currently still healthy. We have to tell you now, the World Health Organization is working on this as an absolute and only priority. However, it is proving to be an extremely complicated infection to fight off. We cannot confirm whether a cure to this infection will ever be developed. Another threat to the health of the human race has been discovered in association to the Cordyceps infection. Due to the amount of fungal growth appearing on the bodies of those who have fallen to the infection, spores have begun to burst and release Cordyceps particles into the air around us. Initially, this wasn't a huge issue to deal with as the particles would drift harmlessly high in the atmosphere, where solar radiation would render them benign to humans. However, due to the sheer amount of spores now bursting across the world, a large buildup of Cordyceps particles have begun to form below cloud level in our atmosphere, catching any other particles and absorbing them into their mass before descending back down to the Earth. We estimate that within 7 days, the amount of particles in the air would mean that breathing without an air-filtered mask would cause infection. To put it shorthand, within a week, the Cordyceps fungus will become airborne, and breathing our atmosphere without a filtration system will infect you. We are working hard to manufacture gas masks en masse for the general population. However, with the large-scale abandonment and evacuation of our nation's major cities, distribution of these masks is going to become difficult. Therefore, the government has announced the following program. Due to the lack of resources currently at our disposal, we cannot form safe zones as numerously and effectively as we would like to. We will, however, create several designated safe zones, which will be announced to the public in due time. These areas will be maintained by the British Armed Forces and the remaining police forces distributed around the nation. These zones will carry out thorough and complete screening checks on any and all civilians that approach the safe zone limits. Due to the severe nature of the infection, if you have a visible case of Cordyceps infection, the order has been given to shoot on sight. This is to limit the exposure of the fungus to any remaining healthy survivors. If you aren't showing physical symptoms, but are infected, you will be put in indefinite quarantine. If you begin to develop physical fungi deformities, you will be shot. Again, we cannot risk an outbreak across the safe zones. We are going to do everything in our power to ensure a complete and total breakdown of civilization does not occur, although it is a real possibility that our government, and the governments of the rest of the world, may eventually collapse due to the severe damage caused to the nation. If this occurs, a formal announcement of the dissolution of the United Kingdom will be broadcast. We can confirm that Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family were relocated to a remote island in the Pacific in order to protect their safety. Let it be known that if the nation formally falls, the history and lineage of our royalty will still rule beyond the seas. Currently, we estimate the casualty numbers in the United Kingdom to be close to 20 million either dead or infected. With around a third of our people gone, we are extremely strained and holding the nation together by the smallest of threads. We need everyone to help contribute in the coming weeks, months, and years, if we are to continue to exist and function as a people. Food and water supply drops are also set to be cut significantly in an attempt to hold on to a sustainable long-term stockpile for a future British society to rebuild with. We understand this is hard, and many face starvation and dehydration, but we believe this is the best course of action for the long-term survival of our nation. The fungal infected, now known as the runners by surviving communities, are becoming more and more hostile, attacking any and all life forms, human and not human, alike. They also seem to be growing larger fungal bulges on their heads, which have been reported to be extremely durable to gunfire. The same rules of engagement apply. Stay quiet and stay away. We believe our people to have the strength and the ability to survive this. Make sure our faith is not misplaced. On behalf of our government, we say thank you and stay safe. This is the final broadcast on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen and the last elected government of the United Kingdom. It is with great sorrow that we have to admit defeat to the overwhelming damage caused by the Cordyceps fungal infection. Last week, the World Health Organization formally dissolved, and with it, any chance of developing a medical cure to the infection. We have done everything within our power to maintain the structure and stability of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but alas, we have failed. Our military became stretched to the point that they deserted their posts, preferring to prioritize the survival of their own families and form their own communities. Our emergency services became so overwhelmed that many of them gave their lives on duty, succumbing to that which they were trying to protect against. Our people, you the general public, lost faith in us, despite all our efforts. We couldn't succeed, we couldn't protect you, and for that, we are eternally sorry. We have allowed the history of our nation to fall, for our great monuments to be claimed by growths of fungal infection, for our communities to melt into the ground. We could not sustain it, and so with a heavy heart, this government formally announces the official dissolution of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The British spirit will live on, the British people will live on. There are those of you tough enough, strong enough, and smart enough out there to continue our legacy, Britain's legacy, and we put it down to you, the people, to carry that legacy forward. Maybe one day in the future, a group stronger than we were can rise from the ashes, burn the fungus from our lands, and form Great Britain once more. Our legacy is there to inherit, to carry forward, and to you brave souls who take that venture, we say good luck and goodbye. One last time, we will blare out our great national anthem, in defiance of the fungal occupation our once green and pleasant land is now coated in. Goodbye all, may God save you, may God save the Queen, and may God save the United Kingdom.
Citizens of our hallowed land, my name is Marcus Rain, a survivor of the fall. When the fungus came, I stood on the front lines. I fired upon it with all my might, and it still wasn't enough. It forced our people into the shadows, forced us to hide in enclosed pens across our nation, like animals, like cattle. Well, I say no more. No more. For the past 10 years, the toughest warriors of this island have crafted Sherwood Forest into a human haven. We offer safety to all, for a price. That price is loyalty, that price is service, that price is sacrifice. If we are to rise once more, we will need loyalty, service, sacrifice. I intend to make sure we rise once more. I speak for the Phoenix of Britannia, a community in the heart of the ruins of our nation. Unlike our named states, we will rise from the ashes, and we will reform the United Kingdom. We will purge this infection from the land, and we will reclaim our birthright. Join us, join the Phoenix. Rise once more, reclaim what your fathers lost. Great Britain is ours.